Should I live in Mexico and move to Mexico? That's the question.
Jerry Brown here with Jerry Brown's Travels, and today I'm going to interview Jim Cook. Now, Jim has lived in Mexico here for 7 years?
9 years.
9 years. So he's going to give us some insight on living in Mexico for 9 years. You travel other parts of the world. Why did you choose Mexico, to live here?
Well, proximity to the U.S. It's close enough that you can fly back and forth to the U.S. in a couple of hours, depending on where you're going. There's a lot of languages that are a lot harder to learn than Spanish.
Okay. Now you narrowed it down to this area, Lake Chapala, the Lakeside area, Ajijic. Now, why did you focus on this area of Mexico?
It's a very beautiful area, people friendly, and there's probably the largest concentration of foreigners in Mexico right here.
And so by having a lot of people like that, makes you feel a little more comfortable?
Yes, I mean most of the foreigners, virtually all of them, as far as I know, speak English.
Okay.
And of course, quite a large percentage of the Mexicans here speak at least some English.
Okay.
So that makes it easier. Although as I've gone along, I've learned more and more Spanish.
Yeah.
Still, if you're going to have a complicated conversation with someone, it's awfully a whole lot easier than when you're speaking in your native tongue. If you're going to be retired, you, as I tell my friends, you need playmates.
Aha, playmates, that's a good one.
And your playmates are more likely to be people more like yourself that are retired and speak your language and have the time and ability to go and do the things you like to do.
Okay, so you have found that to be the case here, where you have a balance of the local Mexican people and then playmates, friends, stuff like that.
Yes, we have both foreign and Mexican friends, but it's hard to get a Mexican friend to go do something in the middle of the week on the spur of the moment. They're just not available. They've got to work.
Jim, I understand your wife Carol was telling me that you guys actually retired in your 50s. Now, a lot of people in our audience would like to know how you did that. Now, just out of curiosity, were you a trust fund baby, or did you inherit a lot of money? How did you pull that off?
Did you ever see the movie The Getaway with Steve McQueen and Ali McGraw? We robbed a bank.
Ah, the old rob the bank routine.
No, we were. I had a pretty good job where I was living in Oregon, and we lived pretty consistently below our means. We had a very comfortable life. We just didn't decide to blow every penny we had, as unfortunately so many people do. And so we put a lot of money away and invested it. And so at the point where I was basically stick a fork in it, he's done. or you could say I was toast in terms of working. We had the resources to go and move to Mexico. And that was the other thing, is that we were able to pay our way because we moved to Mexico, because the cost of living here is so much lower.
Okay.
And the money we have goes so much further.
Yeah. I know a lot of us down here, that's a big consideration, probably. What percentage-wise would you say, foreigners that are living here, it's based on the economy?
Well, it depends on what the lifestyle is that they're choosing. I mean, I've seen foreigners spend, $5,000 a month.
Okay.
And, but that's totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
You can have a very comfortable lifestyle equivalent to a middle-class lifestyle in the U.S. For maybe anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 a month.
Wow. Okay.
That's for two people.
Two people. Okay.
Yes.
That's you and Carol.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's fantastic.
In fact, we tracked it when we first moved down here because we were very concerned about how far our money would really go.
Yeah, you didn't want to run out of money.
We were spending almost exactly $2,000 a month for the first couple of years. Now that includes not just basic expenses, rent and utilities and that sort of thing, but it also includes some pretty regular trips, day trips, or even over several nights out around the area.
Yeah. Well, you know, what I've personally have found down here is that most of us, we drive very simple cars. You know, I know you have a Toyota RAV, and I have a Honda CRV. See Range Rovers. We don't see big Cadillacs. We don't see big Mercedes in this area. So I know for myself, I don't have the wants of having those things. When I lived in California, I had the wants of having those things, you know. And so I find it much easier to live here. Plus, the quality of life is generally better.
Oh, I think so. I think so. Certainly, in terms of the climate,
Okay.
it's so much better. And when you think about it, one of the most important aspects of where you live is what's the climate like?
Yeah.
And there's virtually a perfect climate here, almost year round.
Okay.
It never gets really cold and it never gets really hot.
Right.
And most of the time it's somewhere between, 70 and 85 degrees,
Yeah.
which to me that is pretty close to perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
And when it rains, most of the time it rains at night, not during the day. So
And a lot of our audience has heard from around the world. Is it really safe in Mexico? What is, you know, you've been here for 9 years. You know, what's your personal experience, not what you've read about or heard about, but what is your personal experience about safety here? What have you experienced?
well, it seems to be pretty safe. I've only been kidnapped twice, and you don't get shot at every day. No, seriously speaking,
He's joking.
seriously,
I hope.
seriously speaking, at least living in this area, there's very little person-on-person crime in terms of the Mexicans in the foreign community. I can't speak to Mexican on Mexican,
Right,
so
yeah.
I actually feel safer here than I do in Los Angeles or Portland, Oregon.
Safer here.
Oh yeah, well in Portland I had our house was broken into, we had our car stolen, and there was a drive-by shooting on our street.
Jim, what have you been experienced about medical care here and medicine? That's always a good concern for especially people that are retired and they want to make sure that they have proper medical care. What's your experience about that?
Well, I have to retire and live in the United States and pay for the healthcare was just so expensive that we couldn't afford to pay for it, and we couldn't find anywhere that would insure us at 55 to 59 years old.
I see.
mean, there was no way we could live up there and afford to have good health insurance. So we moved to Mexico, and here it's very different. You can pay for all of your routine healthcare needs out of pocket. The costs are ridiculously low. For example, a doctor's visit cost me about $25
For one visit.
for a consultation. Yes.
Wow, that's good.
A visit with a specialist like a dermatologist cost maybe about $40.
Okay.
So with costs like that, we could afford to do it. And
Well, I know recently you got a root canal. How much did that cost you?
about $150, I think.
$150. Now, I had a
Yes.
root canal in California a year ago, and it cost me over $1,000.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I had insurance.
Well, shortly after I moved down here, I went to my first dentist, and she did 3 caps, 2 fillings, and a tooth cleaning, and it was, I think, $1,100 for all of that.
Wow. Wow. That's very
So I mean,
good.
it's just very inexpensive. Both of us are now on Medicare, so if we did have something very serious that was like ongoing,
Right.
we could go back to the States.
Now, a lot of people, Jim, are really concerned about the water and the food, you know, and the safety of those things down here. So what have you run across? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you do have to be careful about the water. For example, we never drink anything out of the tap. Although you can wash, you can shower, you can do all that sort of thing with using that water, that's fine. You just don't want to consume it. In terms of of eating, if you go to a restaurant, you're 99% going to be okay.
Uh-huh.
You know, you can still pick up something, but same in the U.S. Somebody doesn't wash their hands, it's working in the back, that
Right,
kind of
right.
thing. As far as eating street food, that's a little bit more iffy. In fact, Mexican friends I have tell me that they pretty regularly pick up something from street food.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Now, street food that is cooked is generally okay.
Uh-huh.
And if you're going to sample something, you want to look for a food stand that has lots of people.
Oh, okay. Turnover.
Because
Yeah.
the locals know which food stands they get sick from and which they don't.
Okay.
So,
It sounds like safety of food and stuff like that, if you're conscientious and you watch where you eat and take care of not drinking the tap water and you're washing the vegetables and the fruits and stuff like that, then you're pretty much safe.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thanks again, Jim.
Okay.
Jim, I really appreciate you, sharing with our audience here. I really like just the way you're talking about things. It's very relaxed, and you have a lot of information about Mexico.
You live in Mexico for 9 years and you get pretty relaxed yourself.
I know our audience will really appreciate everything that you shared here. So,
Well, thank you. Thank you. I've enjoyed it myself. I've always enjoyed talking to folks that are new and giving them whatever information I can, and hopefully steering them away from some of the pitfalls and
yeah,
towards some of the benefits.
yeah. P.S. I have a note here, a footnote here. Jim has taken us on a hacienda hike, and that's going to be published within the next week after you see this video. So look for Jim Cook, and he's going to take us on a hacienda. And if you don't know what a hacienda is, he'll explain it to you then. So stand by, and Jim Cook, the historian, is going to give you a personal tour.